वो हसीना वो नीलम परी कर गई कैसी जादूगरी, नींद इन आंखों से छीन दी है, दिल में बेचैनियां है भरी। वो हसीना वो नीलम परी कर गई कैसी जादूगरी, नींद इन आंखों से छीन दी है, दिल में बेचैनियां है भरी। मैं बेचारा हूँ आवारा, बोलो समझाऊं मैं ये अब किस किस को। दिल में मेरे है दर्द किसको, दर्द किसको, दर्द किसको, दिल में मेरे है दर्द किसको, दर्द किसको, दर्द किसको, दिल में मेरे है दर्द किसको, दर्द किसको, दर्द किसको, दिल में मेरे है दर्द किसको, दर्द किसको, दर्द किसको।
All right, my dear fellow listeners, good evening once again, and welcome to Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat. Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat is a Canadian initiative with a global impact. We have had an amazing show earlier today with the King, Stephen Rampal. You know, we have talked about the arts in terms of singing and music and all of that. This conversation here will be a little bit different because we will be talking about politics, you know, the pandemic and a whole lot more. So Pandit, Pandit, Dr. Vishwa Mahadeo, thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule, because obviously I know it is a challenging time for you and so many other people with so many different things that's going on. So welcome to the show. Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat. Good evening to you, and how are you doing today, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Narine Dat, and I'm as good as can be within the circumstances that are prevailing in Guyana today. Thank you for having me on the program. I'm sorry that I did not accept your invitation earlier, but I'm here. So
There
let's
you go.
chit chat.
Absolutely. Let's do the chit chat. But just before we do that, we are going to take an opportunity to get to know you more. We want you to introduce yourself so that people can kind of get to know you a little bit more. But also, I want to play a little clip before I do anything else. And so that way, you can reflect back, you know, onto, you know, as to why you get into politics and all those pieces. So let's take a look at this beautiful speech that you give during the campaign and so on. I think it is wise for us to look back at all of that. And so for those who may have missed it, it's not an issue because we got it covered.
Are you ready for victory? Let me hear you. Are you ready for victory? Now let Granger hear you. Are we ready for victory? General Secretary of the PPP, and here I pause to say, the man who has brought us to the door of victory, the man who pleaded in Parliament on the historic 21st December 2018, let your conscience be your guide, and cause not only all Guyana, but the entire world to look at Guyana with a conscience. Let's give it up for Dr. Barajag Yeo.
All right, so let me just start us off. And so take a minute or so introduce yourself so that people know who you are, and then I'm going to ask you why you get into the politics, and then we'll get into all the different challenges happening right now. So take it away.
Thank you again, Mr. Narine Dat. Well, I'm from the area you came from. I'm
right.
from 66 Village Quarantine. You're from 64.
Yeah, that's correct.
We are now miles apart, but we're from the same area, country boys.
That's right.
Grew up the simple life, going to school barefoot because my father, my mother, they were all involved in community activities. I'm one of 5 siblings. My elder sister is into electronics. She's in New York. My sister, after that, I'm the second one. My sister is in London. She is assistant professor working at the University College London. She's a scientist. My younger brother is, you had him on your program the other day, Pandit Jag Mahadeo. He's a lean manager, an engineer, and all of that. And I'm presently at the home of my the youngest in the family, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Well, he's a lot of things, including a pandit and a lawyer and a journalist and a talk show host and a philanthropist.
Yeah, that's right.
So my father, Pandit Budram Mahadeo, he was a Sanskrit scholar, as was my mother, Pandita Rajkumari Mahadeo. And so we were brought up in this vegetarian family with strong, very, very strong belief in service to humanity. We believe that service to humanity is the best way to serve God. So growing up in that sort of environment, and my father, to step into the political realm, he was a pandit. He was the president of the Guyana Rice Producers Association for 17 years, led countrywide marches for the rice farmers. And so maybe you would know that.
Oh, yes.
And so he was a fighter. Our family used to be harassed by the police, even especially under the Burnham regime. I remember distinctly very often coming and taking my father to the police station for days on end, and but nothing at all because he is never charged. But just because he was he believed strongly in what he was doing for the community, and he was fighting for Guyana to get independence first of all, and secondly to become free from the dictatorship of the Burnham regime. So I am from a strong religious as well as a strong political and trade union background. So I went, when I finished high school at the age of just under 15, in Guyana, you know, in those days to go to university, you had to be 18.
That's right.
Couldn't have gone to the university. So I did work, odds and ends, jobs with people, sometimes going to the rice field, helping out and stuff like that. And then volunteered at a school as a lab attendant until I reached 18, started University of Guyana, had applied several times to get a job with the government, but because of my father's obvious political allegiance, that was a no-no. Applied for scholarship, couldn't get a scholarship. Eventually, I got a scholarship through the People's Progressive Party to go to Moscow and study medicine. Came back as a doctor with some amount of postgraduate training, and here I am.
Well, there you go. Awesome. So obviously, we will, we'll talk about this whole coronavirus thing and all of that, but and I know you, and that's one of the reasons we are having you on the show right now. I mean, there are a lot of Guyanese living out of Guyana, probably more Guyanese living out of Guyana, but people have some sort of connection there, and people who are living there in Guyana right now are reaching out. Sometimes we get to see the things that the politicians really can't see or pretend to be blind, so to speak, right? That's a blunt way of me saying it. So we're going to get into some bits and pieces that took place within the past 60 days, I'll say. But what's the current situation right now with this whole election results and the recounting and the planning and the disagreeing and all of that? Like, what's the current situation right now?
Well, Mr. Narine Dat, going back to a comment you made, body your navel string juke, you could never forget Guyana.
You got it. Absolutely.
Right? And for Guyanese, wherever you might be living, Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, wherever you might be living. And we got, I don't think there is a single country in this world where we don't have Guyanese.
That is
today.
correct. Yeah, absolutely.
But every single Guyanese, for them, whenever they talk about home, they talk about Guyana. And so it remains there. And of course, because you hold Guyana so dear, you are going to feel the pains that we are feeling. Oftentimes, you might even feel it more than we are feeling because we get blunted by the trauma and the pain every day. And like you said, sometimes you might even see things that we are not seeing because you're over there. You see it from a different perspective.
Exactly.
Right? So in Guyana right now, we have just entered the history books because nowhere else in this world where democratic countries are concerned has there been an election that was held and 60 days after the results are not known. So the whole thing is that, and I'll say it bluntly, as is, as I feel it is, and as I know most Guyanese in and out of Guyana feel, we have had rigged elections before. This is what kept the PNC in power for 28 years. We know that. We have people who have come and spoken to us. We have people who are now on board with the PVP, who have been candidates on our list, and they could tell you some of these things that they used to do. Mr. Kit Nascimento, who was a minister in the PNC government, he spoke about it. He said there has never been a blatant attempt at rigging as there is now. He came from the belly of the beast, basically, you could say.
Yeah.
So what happened? We had a smooth elections day. Everything went well. The campaign period went relatively well. A lot of our people were bullied and threats and so were made, but it went relatively peaceful. Election day went well. The ballots were counted at the places of poll. The statements of poll were signed and given to all the party representatives, including us. And one copy of the statement of poll by law was put on the outside of the building so that the public could go and see it. So that makes it a public document. It's no secret anymore.
That's correct. That's right. Yeah.
So that public document was there. The observers, they saw it. They went, they took photographs. People from the public went and took photographs, pictures of that thing and posted it online. Now the counting started and the counting went well. Regions 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they were all completed. Only region 4 was left. And what happened with region 4, and had it not been such a sad day for Guyana, then you could see the humor in it, the comedy in it. So here it is, the count is going very well. We are nearly halfway through the boxes of region 4, which is the most populous region. And suddenly the returning officer, he took ill. He's having a heart attack. They called the ambulance, the medics came, took him away on a stretcher with oxygen and everything. He goes to the hospital, so the count is stopped. He goes to the hospital, he's lying there, and as far as we understand, from eyewitness reports there, after a couple of hours, he gets a phone call. He jumps out of his bed, now this man is supposedly getting a heart attack, right? Immobilized, he's on a trolley, a stretcher. He jumps up, he goes out, he jumps into a car that takes him back to GCOM. When he goes back to GCOM, previously he was reading from the statements of polls. All the figures that he was reading corresponded with the statements of polls that all the other parties had. He comes back, he suddenly stops reading from the statements of polls. He's handed a spreadsheet, and so now he's reading from the spreadsheet. The figures that he is now reading for the rest of the ballot boxes from the spreadsheet does not correlate with the figures that the other parties have, the SOPs that they have. Now, it should be the same.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the parties objected, the CEO came, and they at random chose 20 or some amount of, I think it was 20, SOPs that the people had, the parties had, and compare it to this list that this man had, and every single one was different. Different in what way? In giving the PNC APNU AFC, giving them 50 to 100 votes more. So much so that in the opposition leader, Dr. Barajagde, pointed out that in the Soesdijk area, they just added these votes onto the PNC. So a number of these results that they were calling out, they had more voters than the number of people on the list. Right? So it was obvious fraud. At this stage, not only were the political parties very upset, not only were the political parties saying that this is not right, but all the observers, every single one, whether it be a mission, whether it be Carter Center, whether it be from the embassies, they all said this is not right. So the PEP took the matter to court that you cannot read from a spreadsheet, you got to use the original SOPs. The judge made an order, which Claudette Singh, the chairman of GCOM, said that they are going to obey. It directed Mingo, who was the returning officer, to make sure that the results that are being tabulated are tabulated from the statements of polls. The man came back and went along his merry way, reading from that same spreadsheet that he had. Eventually, objections were made again. Nobody could hear what he was saying. He was on top of a balcony and looking down on people. You could see his lips working, can't hear a song. And then he said, okay, he's finished, and he's declared these are the results. So we objected, of course, and at that stage, things got, I would say, out of hand for them. And so the different organizations, CARICOM even came in. At one stage, actually, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Karen Cummings, threatened the observers that they're going to take away their credentials. Now that is how ridiculous, how preposterous these people are. That's how far it went. We are at a stage now where all the commission has agreed. Both parties that are leading, in fact, all the parties have agreed that they are going to do a recount. We are asking for a recount for Region 4 because the other 10 regions are done.
That's right.
In fact, we are even asking, we agreed on all these ballot boxes that were done previously, just do the rest. But these people have asked that they would like to have a total recount. And so imagine the High Court sat over a weekend to give a decision expeditiously. Weeks after that, we are still not there where the recount is to begin. I think we are getting near to that point where the recount is going to begin. However, there are certain hurdles. For example, one of the requests that my party has made is that when the recount is happening, it should be broadcast live on television, on media, so that everybody would be an observer, will be a witness as to this recount, right? Apparently, the chairman voted, obviously, everything that is being proposed, the PNC nominated commissioners are objecting. So we have 3 APNU AFC PNC commissioners, and we have 3 PEP nominated commissioners. So it's usually 3 against 3, and the chairman has a casting vote. So whenever there's a tie, she decides where it goes. So we are hoping that she's going to make that decision to have a live stream of what is happening there. And once the elections, once the ballot boxes have not been tampered with, we are sure that we have won by not a small majority, but by a large majority. In fact, our SOPs, as you would know, have been posted online.
That's right. Yeah, I've seen them.
And we are saying that, look, based on this, we have won. We are challenging the APNU AFC, post your SOPs online. You claim that you won, post it online. Let's see how you won. And GCOM that has the original SOPs, GCOM could post theirs online. Because remember, right now, the PNC and the APNU AFC, they're objecting to GCOM, or they're even objecting to putting up their own SOPs. But in 2015, if you remember,
Mhm.
in 2015, Granger, who was then opposition leader, was demanding that GCOM post their SOPs online. His words were that these SOPs are public documents, post it online. And now they're opposing it. So there seems to be a lot of contradictions. Granger himself, I'm not going to call him President Granger because I think he's no longer president. But Granger, David Granger, the presidential candidate for the APNU AFC, he goes around making all these wonderful statements. He signed an agreement with Mahadeo that we are going to do a recount. And you know what followed? Candidates from his list, the APNU AFC list, took GCOM to court to stop the recount. The lawyers for that person who took GCOM to court were candidates on the APNU AFC list. So what is really happening is either that guy has lost control of his people or he's playing a double game. Right? So where we are today, we are hoping that we could start. The CARICOM team has flown into Guyana. The you know that they have set up a COVID task force.
That's right, yeah.
Their COVID task force at the beginning, the head of the task force is Nagamutu. Of course, Nagamutu is also, and Waldo Lawrence is there. Now Harman has joined. So they're going to throw all the spanners in the works. I made a post the other day. They said that they, all those who will be in the recount have got to have their face masks changed every 30 minutes. Now I challenged and I'm challenging the Ministry of Public Health, as they call themselves, and whosoever made that decision, to show us where they have scientific data that says that face masks must be changed every 30 minutes
So
or every hour.
So let me stop you for a second. So if that's the case, they should be distributing enough masks for all Guyanese so that they can change the mask every 30 minutes as well too, I guess. But go ahead.
Well, Mr. Narine Dat, I would not even say all Guyanese. I'm saying at least provide the face masks to the health workers who are dealing with COVID patients.
There you go. Yeah.
We'll be going into a convention center with healthy people. Nobody has signs and symptoms of COVID. Okay, you could appear healthy and still be having COVID. You might not be showing any signs, but everyone will be wearing a face mask. They will be observing social distancing. The World Health Organization and Pan American Health Organization guidelines says you change your mask only if it gets wet, if it gets soil, blood on it or something. All right. Research has shown that a face mask only after 4 hours, then it starts leaking, right? But the reason they throw this 30 minutes, 1 hour thing is that when they did their calculation with the number of persons to be there, if you were to change your face mask every hour, you'll need 33,000. Every half an hour, 66,000. I guarantee you we don't have 66,000 surgical masks in Guyana today. Because the staff that are working, those hardworking, dedicated medical personnel and non-medical personnel who are on the front line dealing with known COVID patients, they do not have masks to change every hour, even every 2 hours. They will go in there and at the end of their shift, whether it's 12 hours or 8 hours as the case might be, that's when they might get to change their mask. So are you saying that we, who might be doing the counting, who will be at the Otachong Convention Center, that we will be more at risk compared to those people who are there with known COVID patients? That tells me something as a medical practitioner. It tells me that these people just don't care for the health workers. They're just playing politics. If they do care, and I'm challenging them here again, if they do care, and if you say that at the convention center, every person there needs to change their mask 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, make sure that the health workers can be able to have the same amount of masks, so that if you say every 3 hours, but I think they came down to 2 hours. Let's say you say every 2 hours the mask has to be changed at the convention center. Then for God's sake, in a 12-hour shift, make sure that those staff have at least 6 masks so that they could change it and be safe.
That's a good point. So, I mean, we are watching things keenly here. So, I mean, we can only guess here. So, I mean, we are not too sure what's going on. So, do you see any? I mean, eventually things has to be settled in, obviously. But do you think that there's that possibility where, you know what, well, actually now things look like it will move forward, kind of thing? Because that's all people are asking. Like, do you see any positive, you know, signs there, kind of thing? Because things change day by day, if you know what I mean.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And whilst I will say that I do hope that we have now reached a point of no turning back. We are only going forward with this recount to declare a lawfully elected president. And at the same time, I will say, I don't know what tricks these people got up their sleeves, because they have done so many wrong things, so many things that are questionable. I don't think they are going to give up power that easily.
So what do you say to people? Because I'm reading comments and so on, and obviously I mean, I wasn't physically there, but I can tell you things have changed. I've seen lots of videos. I've seen some of the chaos and so on during the election time, a day and two after, and continuously after that. What do you have to say to people who are saying that the PPP is trying to rig the election? Because I've seen some of those posts as well too. What response do you have to them?
Without being disrespectful, I will say, take your head out of the sand, or out of wherever else you have it. Because we have called, we didn't stop the recount. I mean, as a medical practitioner, I don't know that somebody could be getting a heart attack now and in a short while up on their feet, back to work, right? Stop the shenanigans. I would also say, they're saying that they have called for the recount. Well, if you call for the recount, why are you trying to stop it? If you call for the recount, why are you trying to throw hurdles in the way or every single time? Because I understand, well, not I know, they're objecting to live streaming. What are you scared of? If you claim that you won, I mean, this is common sense. If you claim that you have won, post your statements of polls, show us how you won. If you know you have won, why are you afraid to go and count the ballots again? Yeah, we have been calling for this since forever, basically. This thing is so long that it is now being accepted as, well, these are the tricks that these people are going to come with. Every day something new. So how can we rig the elections? Mingo tried to rig the elections at the PNC. Myers, same thing. The 3 commissioners that they have on the Elections Commission, same thing. If the PEP is trying to rig the elections, why have we been demanding an open recount to be looked over by international observers? If the PEP rigged the elections, Mr. Narine Dat, how come every single observer, every single one of international repute, of local repute, declared that this election results is not correct, that they are ashamed of it? In fact, one of their own ministers, ex-ministers, Dominic Gaskin,
I saw that.
Ranger's son-in-law, said he is ashamed of what happened. And I would say the sane persons in the APNU AFC They would meet with me, they would talk to me, they will call me, and they say they know they have lost these elections. Why are these people holding on? Why are they trying to bring more pressure on Guyana? Because they know that when sanctions hit, or if sanctions hit, it's every single Guyanese, not only the PNC, but every single Guyanese will be affected.
You know, ideally, speaking of that, ideally, it will be nice if things can, move forward and, a winner can be declared, in a credible way. I mean, ideally, anybody with common sense and anybody who cares for the country, as far as I'm concerned, anybody who cares for the country, anybody who cares for the people of Guyana as they claim, whether that be PPP, whether that be the, the APNU and so on, everybody will want that, right? So I'm not sure, how we get to this point. However, in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, I think it probably would have been best if we focus on Region 4 to complete that whole process, because that process never completed in the first place, right? But I think because the PPP, they are so much assured that they have nothing to hide and whatnot. They just said, you know what, if that's what you're requesting, then that's not a problem, And I think that I'm thinking that caused a little bit of a little delay and mixed up as well too, because well, how do we kind of do all of that? And or at least what people are saying, they see that to be an advantage for the APNU, where they kind of took it towards their advantage to stretch this whole process a little bit more. But I think it would have been best to focus on Region 4, and because pretty much, as you mentioned earlier in the program, everybody agreed with the number of votes, and then they move on to the next region. The only thing is that Region 4 seems to be the not a challenging one, but the one where the confusion comes in, kind of thing.
Well, there are a couple of things that you mentioned there, Mr. Narine Dat. One is that the stretching out of this thing, because as long as we do not have a new president named, Granger holds on to the presidency. Now, we legally, as far as I'm concerned, legally, we do not have any ministers. But these people still hold on to their titles. But more than that, they have held on to their vehicles, their salaries, and all the perks that come with it. Right? So this is why they are trying to delay it. Now, we are saying, and we made a proposal, that these counts, the national recount for every single box, which is just over 300,000, which is over 3,000, sorry, just over 3,000, that these boxes, we believe, and we have shown how they could have been counted in 10 days. In 10 days. The original plan was, I think, 156 days.
That's right, yeah.
Right, but that was just throwing in a monkey wrench, knowing that that's not so. So they're going to say, okay, we bargain and we come down to this, but not 10. Right now, a big democracy where you have over 1 billion people, India. I mean, they finished their count, if I remember rightly, in 3 days.
That's correct, yeah, and this really wasn't that too long ago, correct, yeah.
There you go, and we, with not 1 million, just over 500,000, and we need 25 days minimum. It's not guaranteed 25. It's a minimum of 25 days. But I'll tell you something. I'm sure you would be familiar because you come from 64.
That is
you
right.
Would have heard this. You would have heard about Kermit Chetty talk about this.
Oh, yes.
There was a man by the name of Goebbels, right? In Hitler's army. He was their propaganda czar. And Goebbels said, if you tell a lie to a large number of people for a large number of times, eventually it becomes the truth. Something that those are not his words, but he's saying you tell it enough times to enough people, the people are going to believe it. Well, this is what these people are saying. They know they have rigged the elections. So suddenly they start saying the PVP rigged the elections. They know that the PVP was the one calling for a recount. Suddenly now they are saying that they are calling for the recount and we are objecting. So they're hoping that they'll tell the lies so many times to so many people that at least some people are going to believe them. But you know what? This is not the 1930s and 40s. We got social media, we got Facebook. People take out pictures and recordings. So this is how we got a recording of Granger in 2015, demanding that the SOPs be made public, right? So it ain't gonna happen. Nagamutu it is not going to happen, Granger, it's not gonna happen. People are more conscious. They have more information available readily to them. So what you said is exactly so. They are hoping to stretch this thing out as long as possible, but that's how long, in Guyana, we got a saying, every rope got an end. The longest rope got an end.
That's right, yeah.
Well, I keep telling people, long time done, short time left. This mistake, I hope Guyanese learn about it. We made the same mistake in 1964. They gave Burnham and De Geer a chance. They came together, they formed a coalition. Rigged elections continuously after that, up to 1992, 28 years. In 2015, they form a coalition. Now they want to try the same tricks. They want rig elections again. Ain't gonna happen. This time, not a long time. You know the song, right?
That's right, that's right. So tell me something. I mean, like us watching it from here, from a Western land, so to speak. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of frustration, and I mean, I get frustrated with the process kind of thing, right? So what keeps yourself and your team, motivated to say, you know what, we can allow any sort of, rigging, to be blunt, happening here, that we must stand up for people, because when I watch what's going on, like, I get frustrated, because people are reaching out to us too, right? Because people know who we are, and because people are asking me for updates, right? And so that's one of the reasons I bring guys like you, just to kind of keep us, so people can hear it directly from you and so on, because you guys are current, you see what's going on and so on. So my question is, what keeps you motivated really to say, you know what, I have to do what I need to do for the people?
Yeah, Mr. Narine, that there is a saying that my father and my guru, Swami Veda Bharati, would tell us, and that is that whenever you come into this world, when you leave, make sure you leave it a better place. If we allow the rigging to continue, these people will continue rigging. They will feel it's our birthright to do what we want. If they got in 2015, we challenged that. And this, I'll tell you this again. 2015 elections, we made an elections petition. Up to this day, we have had another election. That election petition has not been heard even at the first court. Right? And they're telling us, go do an election petition. Right? So if we allow this, okay, let me backtrack a little. If these people in 2015, when they came into power, if they performed so well, they claimed the PEP was corrupt. To date, they haven't proven a single corruption. What they have proven is that they're corrupt, because we have so much proof of corruption, things like the Sussex Street bond, where they are paying $12.5 million a month rental for a bottom house to store drugs, where they never stored any drugs. And now they want to spend over $1 billion to rent a hotel that never could have functioned because of its location near to the sea, where the water floods over every so often, right? Now they have taken over. It's not their property. It's not their property. From what I have read, they're going to spend over $1 billion on somebody else's property. And at the end of it all, they will be paying approximately $22 million a month rent.
Oh, wow.
Right? Now, isn't this corruption? Now, so these people came in 2015, let us say on somewhat of popular votes. If they had done well, if they had campaigned on corruption, if they were not corrupt, if they had helped out the poor people, they had said in 2015, jobs to the youths, not long after they got into power. Well, government is not in the business of providing employment to people. They said that they will provide opportunities to small businesses. Nothing came of that. They said they'll provide so many things. People are not going to be jobless. Within 1 year, they sent home 7,000 sugar workers, closed the sugar industry. Granger was the one who, in his campaigning, said, oh, sugar is too big to fail, and then sent home 7,000 sugar workers. So this is why the people rejected them. If the people reject you, step out, learn from your mistakes, come back stronger, come back better. But don't try to cling on to power when the people don't want you. This is what democracy is all about. One man, one vote. I want my vote to be counted, you know.
Mhm.
And so does all the Guyanese.
So, as you know, I mean, at some point, this whole election thing has to be settled in somehow. And so, let's say, as you said, let's say PPP, won this whole thing at the end of it all, and we have a new president swearing and so on. Do you think that it will be wise for the PPP Civic to look into the gray areas when it comes to all, all the pieces that wasn't so clear, so that when it comes to a next election, there wouldn't be so much challenge in terms of understanding, all the hidden, all the underlying writing and all the gray areas and all of that, because I'm thinking that probably caused a little bit of a confusion too, where everybody interpret their own little way, kind of go their way kind of thing, if you know what I mean. Like,
well, our manifesto, and I would advise people to get copies of the manifesto. It's online. Our manifesto is quite clear on what we are going to do, and that also includes constitutional reform. Mm-hmm. So it's quite clear. And our government, and I say our government because we are going to be the next, once there is a legitimate government, it is going to be the People's Progressive Party Civic. We are going to hit the ground running. We have people who are experienced. We have people who are knowledgeable. We know where we can get our resources. And we have already plans in place. So we are in spite of Corona, in spite of that, these people have run down the treasury, they have run down our foreign reserves, they have run down the amount of gold that we had. We are still going to hit the ground running. And within the first year, you will see changes.
And that's what people want. A lot of young people, especially, people are looking for opportunities to really move on with their lives, have a job, have a job to go to, being able to take care of their family and all of those types of pieces, right? So you can understand how challenging it is for the everyday Guyanese people, and so that's one of the reasons we really we appreciate the fact that you are here tonight with us to join us on Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat. I mean, you've given us some really good insight about this whole confusion, and we appreciate that. You mentioned about the Corona piece, though, that despite all of that and all the other challenges, you guys will still, being able to move things forward. But as of today, the coronavirus, it looks different for different people. It affects different people differently and so on. And I mean, from your medical background and so on, what advice do you have for us, people who are watching? How can we best, face this challenge from a medical perspective, so to speak?
Thanks for that question. But before I go there, if I may, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Sorry.
So when we heard about coronavirus, and we know that it was spreading, we knew it will eventually come to Guyana. A sensible, people-oriented government should have made preparations. Get doctors trained, get nurses trained, get your personal protective equipment, get enough masks, get enough medication, prepare your places where you're going to have your patients as separate from other patients. Identify and prepare buildings that you could use to house these patients, to keep these patients, because we knew it was coming. But people who don't know medicine and do not know the history of medicine, they have got to learn the hard way. The sad thing is that they are living in their palaces, and it is the people who are suffering. Mm-hmm. Because the 1918 Spanish flu, everybody's talking about it. They have been talking about it for quite some time. We should have learned from that. By the time the Corona COVID-19 would have hit Guyana, we should be prepared. We are still not prepared. We are still not prepared. Now they are building a hospital, supposedly a hospital, to take care of COVID patients. By the time they finish that, COVID would have gone its way or nearly gone its way, at least the first wave or even the second wave, right? So it's like, you know, remember in our small days, people would say, well, monkey does build house only when the rain falling. As soon as the rain stop falling, they stop building house until the next rainfall. But talking about Corona, what we need to do, I guess we would have learned our lessons, and there's quite a bit of information now to tell us that Corona, the COVID-19, is not like any other virus that has been known in man's recorded history. It is different. It is different in a lot of ways. One of the ways that it's different is that you could be healthy, or you could appear to be healthy, and still be infecting other people. So you could have the virus, have no signs and symptoms, but still infect other people, which makes it very dangerous. So you don't know who's sick.
For sure, yeah.
The best thing to do for that, any sensible government, sensible, caring government is going to test people, do mass testing. So you'll be able to identify all those who are sick, isolate them, quarantine them, right? In addition to that, any caring government would have made sure that we have enough sanitizers, enough hand sanitizers, enough disinfectants, right? More than that, any sensible caring government would have started a mass education campaign. People need to know that they need to avoid putting their hands to their faces. They need to wear masks. Any barrier at this stage, any barrier would do, right? A cloth barrier across the face. Once you try to blow through and it doesn't cause a candle to flicker, good enough. If we had sourced enough of the special mask, it would have been good, but we haven't. We need to observe social distancing. The government has put us on a partial lockdown, but still in the nights, you got people roaming the streets, having parties and stuff like that. All that officials are doing are complaining, nothing else, right? So there was no mass education campaign, although we had long enough warning. From China, it moved to other countries, to other countries. It was only after it hit the US severely, then we had our first case. So we had a lot of warning, but we didn't pay heed. It begs the question whether somebody really wanted Guyana to have a serious COVID scare at this time in our political history.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you when you say you kind of basically what you're saying is that the preventative measure is always the best thing, right? So that way, if anything, you know, so that way Guyana would have been more prepared, and other places too, right? And us as individual though, we still have a responsibility as well too. You know, because for me, once you know, once people get sick and then they, you know, they have to get into the hospital and whatnot, it means that things have gotten a little bit too bad. So now that we're talking about this whole coronavirus thing, I will encourage people to take precautions for yourself, but for the people around you, and make sure you wear your mask and so on, because you mentioned a good point. And I think too often, like for me, for example, believe it or not, I haven't been sick in 17 years. The last time I've had a flu was 17 years ago. And so you don't think of these things. And I'm glad you just reminded us that you can have it and not knowing it. So despite the fact that I feel great and strong, and I'm forever grateful for all of this, I am, if I step out of the house, which is very rarely for little groceries and so on, I make sure I have my mask on and so on. And for now, it becomes a norm. And believe it or not, if I don't have it on, coming out and stepping out, I feel as if I'm missing something, just like my glasses. If I step out of the home not having my glasses, I feel like, oh, I'm losing something. So it's the same thing. So thank you for reminding us about that, because we must do our bits and pieces to really help to flatten the curve, as they say. So I really appreciate the reminder, because we all need it.
Yeah, it's our duty. It is our duty to ourselves and to the community as a whole to make sure that this virus, because the other thing with this virus, it kills. And death from this virus is very, very painful. Right? So, and it could kill anyone, but especially those who have other factors affecting them: uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled hypertension, heart diseases, breathing problems, and the elderly. So when it's the elderly combined with these problems, it makes them very, very susceptible. Right. So this is why I think I know we are coming up to program time.
No, that's okay. No, that's fine. We can continue on for a few more minutes. It's not an issue.
Yeah. So basically, it is our duty to ourselves and our duty to the community, to our country, to the world at large, to ensure that we take all the precautions that are necessary. Right. And not only that, we need to take our personal precautions. We need to advise those who might not be taking precautions. We need to advise them that you need to do this. We need, at this time here, those pensioners who are living alone, those pensioners who might be just barely having subsistence from their pensions, a phone call. How are you doing? How's your day? Can I help you with anything? Because for all you know, someone might, and I mean, they're finding persons, I understand now, in the States and other places, who would have died at home. And for days, nobody knew that they had died. You know why? Because nobody took the time to call. And we are human beings. We are social animals.
That's right.
We should be contacting. And I mean, I know that living in metropolitan communities, and so it might not be like living in 64 or 66 for that matter, where everybody knows everybody else.
That's right, yeah.
But you live in a street. At this time, we need to be our brothers and our sisters' keeper. We need that phone call could save a life. Somebody might, and at this time, it's not only Corona is going to kill people, because people are scared to come out. They might not go for their regular medications. People are dying with heart attacks, dying with stroke, dying with other complications other than Corona. A phone call and a little help could save more than one lives. So Corona is literally teaching us about our own personal hygiene, about our community hygiene, about universal hygiene, about loving one another, about being a social animal again, about being a part of a family again. I mean, you remember your days in Guyana when as a family, you supported one another.
Absolutely.
Come what may. And I'm sure that you would have taken that culture over there, and very often you'd be in touch with your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your friend, whoever you would have known. Let's get back there again.
Your brother, Pandit Jag Mahadeo, did a good segment on this show here. To talk about the importance of really checking in, with people and all of that, and is important. I want to add to what you've said too about the check-in. But one of the things we are promoting right now is the top 5. And basically what we're encouraging people to do is to reach out to 5 people they know, whoever that may be, whether that be your friend, close friends, family, and so on, and do it every single day, right? So that way we know that they're okay, because they might be okay today and maybe tomorrow is a whole different story, right? Because we find what's happening. If you are calling, let's say, John every day, let's say at 5 o'clock, I encourage people to be a little bit consistent if they can. We find that if you miss that day and don't call John that day, then John starts to worry that, oh, I didn't hear from Narine. Let me call and see how Narine is doing and to see if he's okay. So it turned out to be a really good thing as well too, right? And so, and I find that it's motivating to even that conversation, I'll be honest with you, I made 2 very important phone calls. Sometimes life get busy with us and so on. But because we are preaching these things, I realized that, I have to set some good example. I end up calling 2 people. One of them, I didn't speak with them in 4 years, and then another fella, we knew they were okay, call him. And it was so much of not only the rich conversation, like knowing that, apart from getting caught up, knowing that phone call made such of a big difference, and so it's never too late, then is what I'm trying to say, right? So,
right. And just a couple of other points. One
yes,
is
go ahead.
that,
yes, absolutely.
One is that at this time, strangely, but we are going back to the old philosophies. Instead of shaking hands, we are from a distance paying respect to one another. We are being told again, in fact, they're advising that you need to check your breathing. And you know that's basically yoga philosophy is based on breathing. Doing your breathing exercises, breathe deeply, breathe slowly, ensure that you exercise your lungs fully, right? Because most of us when we breathe, and this is also medicine, most of us when we breathe, we use the upper part of our lungs. We don't sit straight.
That's right, yeah.
And that is one of the major problems that we have. You sit straight, you breathe deeply, you empty your lungs fully. So that's basically going back to pranayama, going back to basic yoga principles. You know, you do your stretching exercises. I'm a delinquent. I don't like exercises, but you have to. If you don't, then your body is going to slowly close down.
That's right.
You know, so this is taking us back. Stay home, be with your family, keep contact with those who are close to you, make new contacts, read a book, do things that you had ignored previously. This sort of socialization at bars and restaurants, stay home and cook some home cooked food, eat some home cooked food. You know, life was, for most people, it was so busy that when we reach the end of the road, when we look back, you ask yourself, what really, did I notice anything? So it's like you're in this car, you're driving so fast that you cannot enjoy the view on the outside. You know, slow down, enjoy the view, enjoy every single minute. Listen, you'll hear the bees and the birds and the cricket. You know, all these things are there. The good Lord put it there so that we could enjoy, so that we could learn, so that we could observe, so that we could absorb and grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the positives from Corona also.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, we still have to find a way to make the most of it and make sure that the coronavirus doesn't have the best out of us, kind of thing, so to speak, right? So all the pieces that you spoke about there, you know, I highly recommend them as well. You know, many people too haven't had a chance, let's say, to complete the PhD and so on. They're missing a course or two. Maybe now is an opportunity to kind of really utilize this time to kind of complete all of those pieces. Or for people who, you know, maybe drop out from high school, didn't have an opportunity because, you know, they're missing, you know, English or math credit and so on. Maybe there's an opportunity because in these days, just the basic regular job and so on, you need a high school diploma and so on. So there's there are you know, positive pieces to it. So we're not done yet. I want to replay back this clip that I played earlier so that people can get to see some different sides of you here as well too. So if that's okay, gives you an opportunity as well to kind of draw a breath and take a sip of water and some, you know, so because I learned that we all need to kind of
Stay hydrated.
Oh yeah, so we kind of give ourselves that opportunity. So let's do that so people get to see that, and we'll kind of continue the conversation for a few more minutes, and we'll kind of wrap it up from there. So let's enjoy, or let's get to know you a little bit more with this little powerful speech during your campaigning.
Sure.
Are you ready for victory? Let me hear you. Are you ready for victory? Now let Granger hear you. Are we ready for victory? General Secretary of the PPP, and here I pause to say, the man who has brought us to the door of victory, the man who pleaded in Parliament on the historic 21st December 2018, let your conscience be your guide, and cause not only all Guyana, but the entire world to look at Guyana with a conscience. Let's give it up for Dr. Barajag Yeo.
All right, so I just thought I'd play that back. And because this Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat is a very hot show here in Canada now, we do run it on 102.7 CKMS FM and radio here, on TV as well. For those who have the Rogers Digital Box 946, there are a lot of people watching. I particularly would like to take obviously a few minutes or a few seconds here to acknowledge a few people, because we are doing it for the people. There was one person here by the name of Robin saying that you know, he's from 64 village, and obviously because I'm from 64 and you're from 66, and we all grew up with it, with a different kind of values and all of that, right? So it's nice to know that people are
Playing
watching
bumper ball on the beach.
exactly, exactly. So people are saying, are somebody mentioned, I kind of can't find it now, but somebody said, Dr. Vishwa, a really great son of Guyana. So we want to acknowledge all of those bits and pieces.
Thank you.
And so and we appreciate everybody who's taking the time to give comments, not only on this particular segment, but all the different segments. And obviously, just like anything else, you're going to have a few negative ones as well too. But
Sure.
but when you hit your 40, we don't have time for all of this negativity, man. We always see a positive way around it, because as you know, or will agree with me too, some people cannot survive without having negativity in their life. That's who they are, and there's nothing I and you can do to change them if that's how they are. But
Well,
I always see a positive spin to unless if you have an advice, man. But,
sure. I don't have a problem with people having negative views or negative thoughts or negative comments, because it's their right, and it's their once they're speaking from deep down inside, then I will respect what they say. And I would invite them to let us have a discussion, because I could maybe learn from them as they could learn from me. We could share our ideas and come to a common ground. I really do not dislike constructive criticism. Constructive criticism only could help one to grow.
Correct.
So I do appreciate, I will say thanks to them too.
Yeah. So, on that, the constructive feedback it's a beautiful thing. I always look forward for the constructive feedback. But sometimes it can be a lot different than that kind of thing. Joe Jaglal, a very good friend of mine, obviously your cousin, Pandit Joe Jaglal, he is suggesting here to keep the pressure, for the live streaming on that recount, so hopefully you guys can win that battle regarding that, so we can watch it and we can be part of this whole thing and say, what, we've seen it, so it is what it is kind of thing. But so keep up that fight.
Joe would know that we never give up. We fight to the end, win or lose.
Absolutely. And I mean, so I know your life will be busy and busier, because the recounting, it's still on the go and so on. So you wouldn't necessarily have time right away to kind of go through all the comments and so on. But when you have some time, it's probably not a bad thing. So people appreciate the fact that that you are here and you give them some really good current feedback, and as to how things are shaping up right now in Guyana. So we definitely appreciate all of that. So I wouldn't be able to read all of that, but I so much appreciate everybody taking the time to kind of and somebody is saying here, I should mention this as I see it here, somebody by the name of Vishwa Rekha saying that Dr. Vishwa was my teacher in high school. So you have some former student.
Yeah, actually, I taught a couple of years in high school too. And I know Vishwa Rekha. I wish him all the best. I know we have not been in contact. Hope he could contact me now.
Yeah, you see, and so this is an opportunity to kind of thing. So we appreciate you took the time. I'm pretty much sure Dr. Vishwa appreciate you took the time to make that comment. So this is great. Lots of people are engaging and so on. So is there any last word or last thing that I probably didn't have an opportunity to ask you that you want to say, whether that be updates with the recount or politics in general, or even this COVID thing? I know you've done a really nice job to summarize what we can do and so on with this COVID thing. There is always things that we can do to make it worse.
Well, just to let you know that when it was the PVP through the year finale task force that was set up, that took the initial steps to providing masks across the country, to providing hampers, food hampers, and so to those who are the most vulnerable. We have been reaching out to thousands and thousands of people from the 52 to the Orialis Sepruta area. We would have shared over 15,000 masks today. To all those, we are advising them, we are doing public advisories and so on. This is being done across the country, whether it be in the hinterland or on the coastland. in the riverine areas. We are trying to reach everyone. We have a database where we are collecting information as to all those who need help. The same thing I spoke about, trying to get people to maintain this sort of contact. So all help will be appreciated. I know you're having your own battles over there, but we have a task force. We are trying our best. We do not have resources. The resources that are coming in from voluntary donors. I would also add here that through the Mahadeo Foundation, Yog has taken the lead, our youngest brother, and they have been sharing out a lot of food stuff. They have been sharing out a lot of masks that are being made by Anita and her team at Inspire Inc. And a lot of work is being done. So today I understand that they shared out actually a whole truckload of plantains and cassava and other provisions that were donated. So they went out and they shared it to the most vulnerable. So yes, we are working. I'm sorry that we have run out of program time because we need to talk a little bit about religion. We need to talk a little bit about social issues in Guyana. We need to talk a little bit about other issues, about sports, about yoga philosophy, anything, but I'm sure we are running out of time. And I want to thank you for having me on this program. I'm sorry I was delinquent before, but thank you for having me on the program.
Absolutely.
And I would want to wish you and all your listeners all the best. Take care of yourselves. Let us ensure the best thing that we could do at this time is to make sure that we come out of this corona pandemic alive. And we bring our dear ones alive along with us.
Very nicely said. And obviously, it was an honor to have you on here. You did an excellent job to kind of keep us current, with the current situation, so to speak. And I mean, we will love once things settle down. I know things will get busy for you there in Guyana, but we would love to have you back, for a little bit of an update and so on. I want to remind people though that tomorrow we have a young man from Guyana, Mahendra Pagwa, who will be joining us, and he will be sharing his story. He's a college graduate, but the interesting thing about him is that both of his parents are deaf, and both of them cannot speak. And despite of all of those challenges, he was still he was still able to kind of make something out of his life. And so we want to use his story to motivate other Guyanese people and people around the world to kind of really realize, you know what, sometimes challenges in life can be an opportunity. It can be an opportunity for us to kind of look on the brighter side in life, because, you never know. Let's say his parents were people who can speak and hear. Maybe he would have not been a college graduate, because sometimes when we have everything in life just throw at us and all of that, we take certain things for granted. And so his story tomorrow will be very, very unique and very, very special. So I encourage people to tune in to kind of hear from inspiring people.
Actually, I know him. I'm the president of the Burbi Central Arya Samaj, and he is actually the president of the Arya Virdal of the Burbi Central Arya Samaj, and he is indeed an inspirational young man. Recently, I think he was also a candidate for some party in the elections, not mine. But yes, he has, and his story is inspirational indeed.
Yes,
so I'd like to close from my end by saying that there is a quote that I find very useful as a vegetarian studying in in Russia, where you don't have much vegetables and so. I found it very useful. I was given this quote by my sister in England. And it says, "Lord, let me remember each day that comes, that there is nothing that you and I cannot handle together." So I'd want to leave that with anyone who feels that their problems are too large.
Excellent. What a beautiful way to wrap it up. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And to my listeners, to the viewers, on behalf of myself and Dr. Vishwa Mahadeo, we would like to wish you a great today and even better tomorrow. So please join us again, and we'll catch each other very soon.